What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? Hey yo, guess what? Guess what? Guess what?
What?
Today, guess what? Today is a special day.
Today?
Today is a special day. Do you know why today is a special day?
Why is it a special day?
Today is a special day because I've got producer Pearl
Ah,
back with us on the live. Let's go.
oh wow. We're cooking.
We're cooking. And you know what? We're cooking with gas.
Oh,
We're cooking with gas.
because there's load shedding.
No, there's no load shedding this side. We are electric. We are
Wow.
electric today. But yeah, now we are
Unbelievable.
here today. We've got some topics. It's C.Chat episode
I lost
7,
track.
6. One of those ones.
I
It's
lost
C.Chat
track of that.
something. But we are out here today. We're talking about what are we talking about today, Pearl?
We're going to be talking about collaboration, gatekeeping, and
Yep.
of course, the Rainbow Nation.
The Rainbow Nation. Okay.
Are we still the Rainbow Nation?
Yeah,
That's
Miss
what we're
South
going to
Africa.
be
Eh?
talking about. Yep. It's still
Okay.
going on. Eh? It's still, people are still talking about it.
Yeah, yeah. And if you want to find out what it is, stay on because we're going to get to that. But before we do
Yeah.
that, Pearl, what are we hopping in today?
All
Lead
right.
us. Lead the
So
ship.
let me lead the I almost said Titanic. I don't want us to sink.
Ah,
Anyway,
we're not hopping on that one. We can leave that one.
Eish, Eish. Let me not go there. So about a week ago, Mr. Beast, who we all know as that big YouTuber, he posted okay, I think about a month, if not two, there was a picture that he posted with 50 YouTubers. And I don't know if it was me, but I was asking myself, what is happening here? Why are there so many YouTubers with Mr. Beast? What's happening? Like, it's something that I've never imagined happening, seeing Mr. Beast and a whole lot of YouTubers and about 50 of them. So I was asking myself, what is happening? And then about a week ago, he posted the video actually of what was happening, which was the 50 YouTubers fight for 1 million US dollars. So in this challenge, what he did is he invited those 50 YouTubers and they were going to do, a couple of challenges. Whoever wins gets the 1 million US dollars. And that $1 million is not for the YouTuber, but it's for the YouTuber's subscribers. So that YouTuber who gets the money gets to decide what they're going to do with that money for the subscribers. So in a way, Mr. Beast was giving back to a YouTuber, but at the same time, the YouTuber gives back to the subscribers. So there's a link there of giving back. And also, the important thing was collaboration because Mr. Beast is like, his brand is really big, but he saw an opportunity to give back through collaborating with other YouTubers. So I think that element of collaboration is really important, and it's something that I feel that it needs to be done because what I always say is you can do more with other people than when you do something yourself. If
Mm.
he did it himself, I don't think, you know, a lot of people would have seen that type of value because now I think he has gained more fans because now people see that, oh, so he actually cares about what other content creators are doing and he wants to collaborate with them, but also he cares about that or those content creators' subscribers so that he feels the need that no, man, these people have been supporting you. So you need to give back and I'll help you with that. because I have the resources, I'll use my resources. You come through, do whatever you need to do, and then after that, you give back to your subscribers, because obviously the traction from those 50 subscribers, I'm pretty sure that he gained something from that, not just money, but also gaining people seeing him in a different, maybe there were people who saw him as just, this person who does whatever he's doing and be like, but now they see him in a different light to say, oh, so he is this type of person who actually wants to collaborate with others. He doesn't say, oh no, I'm big. No, they have less subscribers than I do, so I'll do this by myself. He actually invited them in his space and they created something amazing. Like those challenges were really, they were funny, but at the same time, when that lady won, like you could see how happy she was because she was going to be able to do something for her subscribers, which is building. I think she mentioned an art school. She was like, she wishes that she could build an art school because most of her subscribers are artistic. So she wanted to do something for them. So collaboration. My question now is, do we have someone like Mr. Beast in South Africa? Do you think we have that type of person?
Yo, that's a good question. And yo, what an intro to the topic. Wow. Yeah, no, it's a very interesting question to ask. Um, as you were speaking, I was just thinking like, I would be so curious to find out how many views that video got, but not just like the video that Mr. Beast posted. I want to know how
Yeah.
many views his video got, plus all of the other videos that all of those creators that were on the show or on that video, because they all created their own videos from it, right? And they all
Yeah.
put those videos out onto their platforms. So I want to see how many views his video plus all of the other videos that were created around it by all those creators got. And I'm telling you, it's probably a crazy number. It's probably something in the billions, I would assume. So I think that just shows you the power, number one, of collaboration, which is so important. And I think it's very important in the context of where we are today in South Africa, because, and especially as young people as well, right? Because a lot of the time we find ourselves in situations where there isn't really a lot to go around. So, like, if you look at the average salary of a young person in South Africa, you know, most people don't even have jobs. So salary, even just having a salary already is like a plus, right? Now, if you look at how much each young person in South Africa makes, it's probably not a huge amount of money, right? Compared to the older folk. But the one thing that we do have is the power of collaboration, right? We don't have resources. So that puts us in a mindset of, I don't have a lot. So I don't want to give anything to anyone else because I'm just trying to do right by myself. But the problem with that is we don't uplift one another. And there's the saying that
Mm.
goes, if you want to go somewhere fast, go alone. If you want to go somewhere far, go together. And I think that's where the power of collaboration comes in. Because if you look at like someone like Mr. Beast, right? The thing that really, I was thinking about it last night, the thing that really stuck out to me about his journey is in the beginning, he was doing videos by himself and with his friends here and there, but they were doing like silly things. Like there was a video of him like counting up to 1,000 or to 10,000 or something crazy like that. Then there's a video of him like playing piano in front of someone's house for like 8 hours or for like 24 hours or something. Like he was just doing all these crazy things to get attention. But if you look at like when his channel actually started blowing up, it was when he started giving to people. So he mentioned this
Mm.
in one of his interviews where he was talking about how he would the first sponsor that he got, instead of using the money to create the video or taking the money to like buy something or whatever it was, what he decided to do was give that money to someone. And he had to convince the sponsor to do that, right? He was like saying to them, no, 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 what I'm gonna do is instead of like using this money to buy something or to like invested in the video, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to record a very basic, simple video of me just giving it to someone. And that's what he'll end up doing. And from that video, he went viral from that video because people wanted to see people giving to other people. Ah, snap, what's his name? It's going to annoy me now. Oh no. Flip. There's a guy in South Africa who literally just goes around and just gives people
Oh,
grocery.
BI Pagat.
Yes.
B
Bipakati. Shout out to Bipakati.
B.
Bipakati.
I think it's B. I don't know. I think I call him BI Pagat.
Is it Bi Pakati? Is it Bai Pakati? Is it B Pakati?
I
Someone please
let
tell
us
us
know
in
in
the
the
chat.
comments,
Yeah, let us know in the
and
comments.
also please tell us
Yeah.
if you know someone who is like the Mr. Beast of someone else, maybe besides by BI Pagat. Let us know in the comments.
No, I'm not gonna lie. For me, the Mr. Beast of South Africa is Bai Pakati. Because he will go
Mm.
and give to people, right? So that video,
Yeah.
and there's other people that have done this in the past. Like people have gone viral many times, going to someone and like saying to them something random like, "Hey, do you have $5 for me?" And then most people say no,
Mm.
and then the person that gives them, they say, "Oh no, like you can keep the money. Here's 20,000 rand or whatever it is." Like there's a lot of people
Mm.
that have done that, and the reason why people why let me ask you, bro. Let me bring it your way. Why do you think people watch that
Okay.
stuff?
Well, I think for me, when I watch those videos, I want to see the type of people that we live in, that we live around, not we live in.
Yeah, I hope not.
Because you would see you would see someone maybe acting like they're handicapped. I saw a video of this guy, I forgot his name. I think, okay, I didn't see his name because you know how some pages would take someone else's content and they don't really put that person, even if they are trying to impersonate that person, they might use another name, maybe to avoid being flagged or something. So this person was sitting on the floor outside a complex, and he acted like he was handicapped and he had his like crutches and he was trying to get up and people were looking at him. No one was helping him. Like I think more than 10 people passed him just looking at him and then going by with their day. But these two ladies, they were walking and they saw him and they were like, nah, why are these people just leaving this guy here? He's trying to get up. Why aren't they helping him? And he actually, um, they actually helped him. He got up and then he gave them 2 iPhones each. And with that, it really opened my eyes on, okay, not open them, it gave me a clear picture of how the type of people that we live around. Some people
Let me
don't care,
let me
and
ask you some.
it doesn't cost money to be kind to someone. It
Mm,
doesn't, like, help doesn't come in a form of money. Just
mm,
seeing a person laying there trying to get up, help them. But there are those people who don't care. So it shows how, we live. We might think we like we have different mindsets.
mm,
Some people care, some people don't.
mm,
So we need to know the difference. When I look at them, I get the satisfaction of seeing the person getting help in them and then them giving back to the person that helped. Because people, you see how you would see the genuine, sincerity in that person saying that, let's get, because that person has no idea what's happening. They're doing it willingly and, they feel the need to help that person because they want to, not because they have to, you know.
mm.
So
My
yeah, those type
question
of
to you,
videos,
bro,
they really,
is
yeah,
how did that video make you feel?
it makes me. I have mixed reactions. I have mixed emotions
But there are
because
emotions,
imagine
right?
if it was, yeah.
Break those
because
down
it
for us.
makes me feel, well, when I see that person not getting help, I'm asking myself, if it wasn't a content creator and it was someone who actually needed help, what was going to happen to that person if they didn't get help sooner? Because I don't know if this is true or not. There's a post that I came across on Facebook. This lady was sick at work and she tried to tell, I think, the manager that she was not feeling well, but the manager just brushed her off and she passed away at her workplace, I think about an hour or two after that. So imagine if it's someone who is laying there trying to get up and they don't get help sooner, what would happen? And it's actually like a real person, not a content creator. So that makes me feel sad that we live among people that have no sympathy.
Mm,
So yeah, that is that emotion. Second emotion that I feel is joy and happiness, that at least there are people that actually are helpful. You know, like I said, help, it does not mean money. Just taking that person's hand and helping them get up. You'll never know what you've done for that person, because there are many forms of help. When someone says, I need your help, there are those that think, he's gonna ask for money or she's going to ask for money. But no, even word of mouth can help. So when I see that person helping and they actually get something in return, that's like a bonus. It makes me feel happy and it shows me that, okay, not everybody is bad.
mm. Yeah, there's
That's
two
how
things
I
that I've
feel.
picked up on there. Like the one is it makes you feel something, and that's the
Mm,
key, right? When people
yeah.
take action, a lot of the time we take action because we feel strongly about something. So like if we get the
Mm,
opportunity to help someone, you know, if you feel bad about someone, you're going to be more likely to actually help them because you don't want to feel that feeling of, you know, sadness. And then the second thing that I also picked up on was that you felt grateful. Or sorry, you didn't feel grateful, you felt
mm.
joy. You said joy. I personally, I would
Yeah.
describe it more as like hope, because you see like a
Yes,
person
hope.
down and you see all the tragic things that happen in this life, but then you see someone actually overcoming it and you see someone helping another person. And for me, that kind of gives me hope that there's something better in this world than just like all the bad that we see. So that immediately says to me, because you feel something, you're most likely going to actually watch it. You're most likely going to engage on it because it makes you feel so deeply about those two things. Now, the other thing that stands out to me through what you said is there's like those two emotions that you described are almost opposites. The first one is
Mm,
sadness and despair. The second one is joy and hope. Now, when you contrast two opposites, it emphasizes one over the other. So, for
mm,
example, if you're feeling really sad about something that you see in a video, and then all of a sudden now you feel hope, that hope is going to feel so much more powerful than if you just saw someone helping another person. So,
mm,
like, let's flip it on its head. If the video was the other way around, where in the beginning of the video, now you see someone helping another person, and then at the end of the video, you see all the people that walk past. Do you think the video would have done as well or would have gotten as much attention?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? I don't know. Hey, I think it
Yeah, I
might
think.
still, but like I feel like people would have, like the action that people would have taken after it would have been different.
Mm, I think
Because
that the beginning of showing people just passing by, it has that build up to the victory or to the
yeah,
final moments that actually, have a happy ending for everybody who is doing good.
yeah, it ends on a positive note, right? And
It,
then I would even
yes.
argue so far to say is that like I think it would still get views, but I think the comments would be different.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the one where
Mm,
you have the positive ending, you would probably see more positive comments below, being like,
Yes.
oh yeah, like people are helping each other, like let's all help each other, kumbaya. Whereas if it was the other way around, I feel like it would be a situation where there would be a lot more like hate in the comments towards the people that walk past, because you
Mm,
left on that low rather than the high. And it's interesting,
mm,
like I just think it's an interesting topic to talk about, because when it comes to like content creation and creating good content through content. So, having that sense of self and having an idea of how you want people to feel can kind of help you make those decisions in terms of, do you want it to end on the bad or do you want it to end on the good? And it's
mm.
interesting, like even if you look at like a movie, it's the same thing, right? People watch
Yeah.
movies for different reasons. Some of the movies they end on high, like the hero wins, and then some movies the hero dies at the end, and it just like it ends on a sad
Mm,
note. Either way, it can still be a good movie, can still be entertaining, but the point that's consistent is that it makes you
mm.
feel something. So I think that's what also MrBeast gets really, or does really well. It's like whenever you watch his videos, or any content creator, like not even just MrBeast, any content creator that does well, like check how you
Mm,
feel after you've watched the video. And I think if you feel something, then it means that they've done their job. If you don't feel something, then it's like, eh. And I think that's also like something that's important when you're putting out content. Like when you're putting
mm,
out content, you don't feel anything behind the content that you're putting out. You can't expect other people to feel something about it. But also, why do you feel a certain way? If it's because if you feel good about the piece of content because you've spent a lot of time making it, and you feel good about it because it's the first piece of content that you're putting out and you're super excited, then the viewer doesn't have that same experience. So they're probably not going to feel the same way. So it's really like what makes you feel a certain way. I think for me, what helps me make content that feels something, that leaves me feeling something, is music. Like the
mm,
music that you put on a piece of content can really like make you feel something after watching. I think it's so powerful. But it's interesting. And then that thing of contrast, right? When you have
yeah.
the one high, contrasting with the low. If you have the high in the beginning and the low afterwards, the low feels so much worse if it's high before. And if you have a high before and a low afterwards, or if you have a low before and a high afterwards, the high feels so much more higher because you've just come from a low. Whereas if you just start in the middle and then you end on a high, the high might be the same height, but it won't feel as high because you start in the middle. So having that
Mm,
contrast really like helps emphasize things. Like even like this picture, right? I'm
yeah.
wearing black. There's a black wall behind me. My skin tone is light. It highlights me as the subject of the image, which is why the colors work well. So it's like that
Mm,
contrast, whatever you want to emphasize, contrast is such a good way to emphasize it. But yeah, I'm
mm.
getting super arty farty in this chat.
No, it's cool. Preach,
Listen,
preach, serve us, cook.
we're cooking. We're cooking.
We're
But yeah,
cooking.
it's an
Are there
important
any
concept. I think.
comments?
Sorry.
I was saying, are there any comments?
Any comments? None at the moment. Shout out to everyone who's watching
Okay.
though. If you have any comments, feel free to leave them in the chat or drop a comment if you're watching this after it's live. But yeah, keen to hear your thoughts on the topic.
And what you are saying right now actually takes me back to how in life, when something comes easy, you don't really feel that, that sense of, yes, I finally got this, because it came easy. But when you go through the lows first before you get to the high, you're able to appreciate whatever you get in the end, or the goal that you reach, because you know where you come from. You know how hard it was to get to where you were, to where you are right now. So like you start feeling that, oh, finally, after everything I've been through, I'm finally here. So what you've been talking about right now actually takes me back to that cycle of life, that you go through the lows first before you get to the high, and that's where you get to appreciate your efforts, unlike if something came easy to you. And that's something I've had to learn, eh?
Yeah,
I've,
that's
hey.
so profound. Yo, that's such a profound thing that you've just mentioned, bro. Like,
Mm,
flip, it's so true. And it's like that concept of contrast. I always think of the yin and the yang. I don't know if you know about the
mm,
yin and the yang.
yeah.
So I always think of that like that icon of the yin and yang, where you have the black on one side and then a white dots, and then you have the whites on the other side with the black dots. And it's exactly the same, it just mirrors one another. And how things are
Mm,
always in balance, but you always have the two opposites sides of the same coin. And it's like, I think that concept ties into this, what we're talking about now, in terms of how things will always be in balance. But it matters what you decide to focus on. Like, are you going to focus on the low at the end? Or are you going to, is the low at the end just the beginning of a next high? Like, where does it end
mm,
for you? Where does the movie end? Does the movie end on the low, or does
exactly.
the movie start at the low? Because each day that we
Mm,
have is a new story. So we have to choose, like, how do we view that, and where does it end? And I think that mindset shift
exactly.
can be so like beneficial, because when you're going through like a difficult time and you view it as, oh no, this difficult time is just the beginning of the next uphill. This uphill that I'm going is just the next peak that I'm approaching. Well, this down is just the beginning of me going uphill to a new peak. When you shift your thinking, then it kind of
Mm,
becomes easier to deal with, because you're not focused on the low, you're focused on the next high. And then
mm,
also on the flip side of the coin, since we're talking about coins, on the flip
oh,
side of the
wow.
coin, when you have the high, when you're at the high, what, like, being aware of the fact that there is going to be another low coming. So not to say that you must
Mm,
enjoy the high, but also keep in mind that there will be a low, and be humble when you're at that high.
mm,
Because if you're not humble and you don't expect the next low, you're not going to be prepared for it. And the people that are there during the high are not going to stick around because they're not going to be
yeah.
there for real reasons. So it works both ways. That concept of like contrast, yo, such a powerful concept.
I mean, you
Super
can see it
abstract, bro.
with people who are on I Blew It.
Yeah, literally.
I mean, like they get whatever, maybe they win the lotto, or they get this big gig where they earn like millions, and then there's this company that comes in now. Everybody wants to be their friend. Even the long lost cousins are coming in. Hey, we're cousins. And then once the money decides to say, okay, we went from million, we're now at hundreds. Everybody goes their separate ways now, and now what the very same people do is they start talking ill about you, saying, why didn't he save? Why didn't she do this? She was busy spending money, forgetting that they were actually spending that money with you.
Mm.
So I think it also takes me back to the conversation that you had with Yellowphonic about, you know, the situation that he was in. I'm not trying to jinx the upcoming episode, guys, but it just
Yeah, I was
takes me
about to
back.
say, you're giving people a starter here before the main course.
But yeah, that was you guys touched on that similar situation, or that same situation, of how when you are at your highest, always anticipate the low. But even though you know that, okay, it's
Mm,
possible that I might go back down there, but enjoy the high, but don't waste resources. Don't say, I'm at my highest, I'll stay there. There's a possibility that you'll go back,
yeah,
because anything can happen. It's life, anything can happen. But it is what it is. Enjoy life. There's a
remember.
difference. I always say there's a difference between enjoying life and destroying your life. Most people destroy their lives saying that they're enjoying life.
Mm,
You need to understand the
interesting.
difference.
That's the yin and the yang, the other side of the coin,
That's the
right?
thing. Yeah.
That
Balance.
literally the other side of the coin. So
Mm.
Sabu, yo, shout out to Sabu. He's saying that
Shout out to
the contrast of life can be a funny thing. And it's so true. Now, bringing this back to the topic of gatekeeping, right? Because this ties into
oh
gatekeeping. It ties into gatekeeping. And let me tell you why. We're seeing situations now where we have people like Maphorisa, who's been called out multiple times for gatekeeping, right?
mm.
And now there's a whole situation going on with El Tito and Maphorisa swearing at El Tito and whatever. I don't think that's the important part. The important part is like, what do we learn from this situation that's happening in front of us? Because there's a lesson in this, in my opinion. And I'm curious to hear what other people think about this lesson. So comment down below what you think. But from my
Yeah.
perspective, this situation applies to the Maphorisa situation. And the reason why is because right now Maphorisa, he's going through a high. Like this brew is like on all of these different songs. He is putting on all of these
Mm.
younger artists, collaborating with them. Mans is traveling the world, wearing the Gucci's, the Louis Vuittons. Man's living life, right? But in the same breath, there's people out there that are now accusing him of gatekeeping and saying that he does things in a way that's not right. And now I am not a I'm not an expert in the situation. I'm just talking from my perspective and what I've seen. But I've seen things where, for example, now Maphorisa is now sending his artists their royalties for their songs from his bank account, right? Which says to me that the actual royalties that Samro, the South African music royalties, I think it's Southern Africa, actually. I think it's just South Africa. But Samro, which is the distributor of this money, it's not coming from their accounts, coming from his account, which is what we talk about with gatekeeping, right? Because now there's a gate when it comes to those artists accessing their royalties. It now must come through him. So now he's put up a gate in front of these artists that he's working on, because now if you want royalties, now Maphorisa must pay you the royalties. He must decide how much he's paying you. I'm pretty sure a lot of those artists don't even know what the royalties are from the songs that they're making, because the royalties are not going to them, it's going to his account. And then now he's paying them from
Mm.
his account. So now when I see something like that, I see that as gatekeeping, because now instead of paying people what is due to them, which is decided by Samro, not by Maphorisa, you're now putting a gate there in the way. That's a problem in
Mm.
my mind. The reason why it ties into what we're talking about now with the highs and the lows and remaining humble when you're up is because we need to ask ourselves, those producers now that are making these songs with Maphorisa, that are now building up their own audiences, that are getting people to know their names, they're building their brands. What happens now when there's a situation where they no longer need Maphorisa? Because now people know their names, people know what they look like, people are listening to their music. They decide to make a song outside of with Maphorisa, and now people are going to listen to it because they built the brand. What happens to Maphorisa now? Because now they no longer need him, right? And now if
Mm.
that situation happens where now those artists can now go to Samro and claim royalties because they are aware of how business works in the music space, and they go to Samro and now claim money directly from Samro, no longer getting whatever Maphorisa decides to give them. For what reason would they stick with Maphorisa? there
They
would be no
wouldn't.
reason to stay. So
Mm.
when I look at Maphorisa doing these things, I think of this situation that we're talking about now, where you're at your high, right? It's a situation where you're making money, you have all the attention on you, you have the resources to give other people opportunities. But now you want to be able, you want to gatekeep, you want to make more for yourself, you don't want to give people what's due to them. And you don't want to be transparent, you want to hide what's happening behind the scenes. And now that you're hiding behind what's happening behind the scenes, now you're taking advantage of the situation because people don't know how the business side of things work. The problem with that is it's not long-term thinking, because in the short term, yes, you gain. You put these artists on, they do all the producing. You just put your name on it, do a DJ Khaled, say a word or two, maybe bring them to a gig or two, do the small amounts of work and get paid a crap ton in the short run. But there will be those artists that are going to learn the industry, that are going to learn how to do business. And if the relationship is purely built on that transactional relationship, then those people are going to leave later down the line because they're getting screwed over. It's just a matter of time until they realize that they're being screwed over. It's just a matter of time
Mm.
until they realize how the music industry works. So I don't know. We'll come and revisit this video maybe a few years from now and see what happens. But from my experience, when it comes to doing business, one of the best ways to approach it is to approach it as a relationship, to have transparency between one another. Because what lands up happening is when things go downhill, because right now things are at a high, things are working out for Maphorisa. It's not going to be like that forever. Let me tell you that right now. Nature of life is that there will always be a downturn at some point. When that downturn comes and you no longer have attention on you, you no longer have all of the gigs, you no longer have all of the power and the control, are those people going to stick by your side, or are those people going to turn on you? And what
Mm.
dictates that is how you act when you are high, when you have the power, when you have the control. And that's what makes a good leader versus a bad leader. Because a bad leader is going to have that, when that downfall comes, there's going to be no one to catch them. Because when they had the power, when they had the control, when they were in the leadership position, they were taking advantage of the situation. People are not going to come support you because all the built were purely transactional. There was nothing more deeper behind it. Whereas the good leader remains humble when they're at the top, is going to take
Mm.
everything that comes into what they're doing and give everyone so that there can be enough abundance for everyone. Give people opportunities. And what lands up happening is that when you go through the low, now all those musicians that you put on that are now trending, that are now doing amazing things, they're going to come and bring you to the gig. They're going to come and bring you as a feature on their song, etc., etc. So I don't know. I think that's how it ties into this kind of topic of these highs and these lows, and like how you
Mm.
react and how you respond to all these situations is so important. Because yeah, man, I'm just looking at this Maphorisa situation and I'm like, hey, I don't know how this is gonna turn out. But like I said, we'll revisit
Mm.
it in a while and see what happens. I see we've got a comment here from we got Noble in the chat. It's good. I think
Shout out
artists should,
Noble.
yeah, shout out to Noble, a member of the community, long standing. I think artists should strive for independence, partner with these gatekeepers instead of sell out to them. It's interesting because some people view like signing a record deal as like selling out, but I don't know if it's a
Mm.
sellout, because it really comes down to what value are these people providing you, and what are you getting from it,
Mm.
and are you okay with that? Well, like, what do you want from the situation? If you want control
Exactly.
in the situation, if you want to be able to decide how to navigate it and to be able to have the power to make decisions, then you probably don't want to go with the label. You probably don't want to work with Maphorisa, because at the end of the day, what Maphorisa decides to give you, what gig he decides you play on, what song he decides you feature on, he's going to decide that. You don't have the decision. So it works the same with the label. Once you sign to the label, they pay you the advance, you get that money, you owe the label. So whatever it is that you're doing, the label decides. They have the decision making power. So if you want the power to make decisions, then don't sell out, right? But then there's the flip side of the coin, as there always is. And the flip side of the coin says that what are these people doing for you? If you're going to work for Maphorisa, you know you're going to get his name on your song. You know you're going to play at certain gigs. You know you're going to be included in certain networks. You know that you're going to get all these benefits. So is that worth the decision-making power or not?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it? What do you
And
think, bro? Is
most
it worth it?
people go for labels because as an artist or as a musician, you need to be able to fund your music career. So some see it as a way of when they go to a label and they want to be signed by a certain label, they are looking at this label is going to help me with the resources that I need that I can't afford. And some look at how they're able to, like, if they did it alone, they aren't going to reach a certain audience that they owe a certain number of people that they want to reach. So they see being part of a certain label. I mean, look at Ambitious. With Ambitious, people would sign to Ambitious because they know that Ambitious entertainment artists were able to get their artists out there. I mean, Ambitious Entertainment was like one of the biggest or well-known record labels in South Africa. But you saw what happened with them. But still, after that, there were people that said, "We don't care. As long as we can get the exposure, then it's fine." But then as time went by, they saw that, we do need the money. It's not just about the exposure. We do need the money. So most people go for that when they sign with record labels. And then there are those that say, oh no, I don't want to be exploited. So I'll just sign a distribution deal with whatever platform or whatever company.
I don't know if I agree with that money thing of like how you need capital to start or you need capital to like be able to succeed. Like this goes to the whole investments chat, right? If we're going to talk about this chat, I mean, it applies to whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a musician, whatever it is that you do, this thing applies. But before I get that chat, I want to read the comments. So we got Sibu. People will call you a hater. Bro, call me a hater. Cancel me. I want you to cancel me. Like, cancel me. It's fine. At the end of the day, the truth is the truth. And we will speak our truth. And not to say that sometimes your truth changes. Like sometimes you learn something new or the context of the situation changes or, you make a mistake. A lot of that happens. And what happens then is you learn and you grow. So I think that's one thing that we don't do as young people is we don't say what we believe to be the truth because we feel as though someone else out there is going to disagree with it and call us a hater or is going to go out there and cancel us or whatever. Speak your truth. That's what I think. I think you should speak your truth. And if you're wrong, people will correct you. And we should all be understanding that people make mistakes. And sometimes you have to make a mistake and get something wrong in order to grow and learn something. So that's my thought on it. I don't care if people call me a hater. People will call you a hater, but you're speaking facts. That's right. Speak the truth. Another problem with these guys is that they take advantage of what people don't know. Now, this is a question I want to ask to you guys, right? In the situation of Maphorisa, right? And this comes back to what I was also asking, like, what do you want from the situation? Do you want to be the one who's in control, the one who makes the decisions or not? Because being the one who sits in control comes with a lot of responsibility. It comes with a lot of pressure to perform. When you have 10, 20 people that are relying on you, there's a pressure that comes with that. And there's a responsibility that comes with that. That's not an easy thing to bear. So some people don't want to bear that, and that's okay. There's no problem with not wanting to bear that. It's a difficult thing to put on your shoulders. So that's fine. But my thing is, if you someone that wants to be in control and you're not in a position of control because you don't know something, that's on you. I don't think that's on Maphorisa. I think if there's people out there if there's producers out there that are working for Maphorisa and they're only a part of that system because they don't know how business works or how the system external to them working with Maphorisa works, I don't think that's Maphorisa's fault. I think that's the responsibility of the producer to go out there and educate themselves and learn how to get where they want to go. So there's also that thing of like, are you a victim in the situation as one of those producers who's getting their royalties paid through Maphorisa's account? Are those producers victims in the situation? I personally believe that if you want to be a producer, if you want to be someone who's successful at producing, working with Maphorisa is not the only way to get there. There's other ways that you can get there. There are other people in the music industry that don't work the same way that Maphorisa works. Go try and work with those people instead. Like, I want to hear from you guys though. Like, do you think those producers who are working with Maphorisa maybe being taken advantage of, do you think they are victims in the situation? Or do you think that they are not victims and that they could like do something different? Because that's the way I feel. But I want to hear what you guys think. I just want to also read this comment here. Like, if I sign a contract without knowing what I'm getting into, there's no stopping them from shortchanging me of what I should get. But who signed the contract? That's another thing we also need to like, as young people, talk about, because a lot of the time we find ourselves as young people in these situations that are not the best situations, and then we look at like the external system, right? And this situation that Maphorisa is running right now is a system, right? There's a method in which he's doing his business, and that's a system. So now the same thing applies in society, right? Society is a system. So now if we're finding ourselves in a system where the system is not optimal, right? Is there not another system that we can go to instead? Is there not a way to change the current system? We can't just blame the system the whole time. There is a level of control that we have as young people in the development of that system or deciding which system we want to be in. A lot of people disagree with me, and I know I get why, because like I do come from a place of privilege. So my perspective is coming from that place. But yeah, I mean, let's have a chat about that. Let's talk about that because I think that's an interesting thing to explore. Sorry, Pearl, I interrupted you.
What did I want to say again? Oh, I wanted to say, I think that is why it's important for an artist to know the business side of music before they get into it, because you need to understand the different types of deals that might be offered to you. You might see an advantage, but they all have disadvantages. So you need to pick a fighter. If you are determined to be part of a record label, you need to know that somewhere, somehow, there's something that you're going to lose on. And most artists, when they see the amount that they're being given at the beginning, they think, yeah, this is all mine, not knowing that their label is actually investing in them, and they eventually have to pay them back. So yeah, it's really important to learn what is happening in the industry, who gets what. And it's also important, transparency is important. You need to know who gets what. That's why there's split sheets as well, to know that, okay, the composer gets 50%, and then the other 50% gets split among the artist and other people. You might find that it's different type of people. Maybe it's a collaboration. Maybe it's like four artists. They each have to get their percentage of whatever amount is being made. So you can imagine how much 50% for all those artists, plus other people as well, maybe like the sound engineers, everybody who was involved. Because automatically the composer gets 50. That's how it is. That's yeah. It's been written that
And
way for some reason.
those decisions that are made are purely based on relationships. How do
Mm,
I perceive the value that someone is bringing to the table? Because one artist might say, like, let's look at Beyonce, right? I'm telling you now,
mm,
Beyonce can go to composers and get paid a much bigger split than most other artists out there compared to what the composer is being paid. And the reason why is because it doesn't matter who the composer is. Because Beyonce is going to be on that track, it's going to make a certain amount of money, which means she brings more value
mm,
to the deal than
mm,
someone else out there who might be working with this amazing composer who's maybe an unknown artist. If you're an unknown artist working with an amazing composer, chances are that the composer is going to get a bigger split because you know that the music's going to be of a certain quality and that's the value that they bring to the table. And you aren't necessarily going to be able to bring the same kind of eyes than a Beyonce could. So it's literally all about value, how much value you're bringing, number one. And number two, how much people perceive that value. Because you could be bringing the most value, like value to the deal. But if the person on the other side doesn't see or understand that value or doesn't view it as valuable, then you don't have any leg to stand on when you're negotiating with them. So understanding what people value is so important when it comes to navigating business because you might sell oranges, right? And maybe you're just selling it on a street where people just don't like oranges. You're going to be trying to sell these oranges every day and no one's going to be buying them. And you're going to think, oh, no one likes oranges. This business is unsuccessful. I'm wasting my time. Meanwhile, down the road, there might be a school, and it just so happens that school kids love oranges. Whereas in the business district street that you were selling at, people don't like eating oranges because it drips on their shirts and they don't want to dirty their shirts before they go to their meetings. Now you shift that exact same business, you keep everything the same, but you start selling outside of the school, and then you realize, oh no, people love oranges. I was just selling at the wrong place. So it just depends how people perceive your value. Because, and this is what I think people also kind of get knocked down when they're putting out content, right? So, like, for example, we put out a lot of podcast content on my Instagram page. Now, on my Instagram page, when we got a lot of followers on that page, it was when we were shooting fashion films, when we were shooting creative content. So a lot of people were following that page because it was creative work. That's the value that they saw in the work that we were creating. Now, fast forward a few years later, I'm no longer in the creative world in that way. I'm in it from a different angle. And that angle means that what makes sense for us right now is to create podcast content. So now when we start putting out podcast content on that page, it doesn't get the same kind of engagement than what a fashion film would have got if we posted it a few years back or even now. And the reason why it doesn't is because those people that followed the page were not necessarily following the page for podcast content. They were following the page for fashion content. Doesn't mean that the podcast content is bad. But you can see how if you're going to make a change, that now when you make this change, you're going to put out this new podcast content, no one's going to engage with it. In your mind, you might start thinking, oh no, this podcast is horrible. I need to stop it. I'm wasting my time. And this is the problem with constantly changing what you're doing all the time. Like, I think as young people as well, and I always find myself doing the same thing. Sometimes I feel like I'm a kid in a candy store. And this topic we're talking about now is going to be in the podcast episode that we drop tomorrow. We actually explored it with Kopano, who's our guest tomorrow. So go check that out. But and she mentioned how she like navigates this, and she had a very interesting way of navigating it. Sometimes I feel like I'm a kid in a candy store. I want to do everything. I want to I want to be a business owner. I want to be a DJ. I want to be a model. I want to make music. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I want to do this. So you feel like a kid in a candy store because you just want to eat all the different sweets. The problem with eating a single sweet in that candy store is that you're going to get sick. And the reason why is because if you're going to start one thing today and you're going to commit to doing it for, let's say, a month, and then you start another thing the next month that's completely different and you commit to that for a month, and then you do another thing next month, you're not going to find your audience. Because you're gonna get, let's say you get 5 subscribers or 5 followers from putting out podcasts this month. And those people want podcasts, they like the podcast, they want more podcasts. And then the next month you decide, no, I'm gonna make fashion films. And then you get 5 people that are making fashion films follow you, and they want fashion films. And those 5 people that followed you for the podcast are gonna completely leave you because now you're putting out stuff that's not what they want. Then the next month you start putting out vlogs. Like, then you gain 10 subscribers that want vlogs. So now overall you've gained 20 subscribers, but you're probably going to lose 3 of the 5 that followed you for podcasts. You're probably going to lose 2 of the people that followed you for fashion films. And then now you've got the 10 that you got from doing vlogs, let's say. So overall, you actually land up with less subscribers than if you had just kept on doing podcasts from the beginning. Because if you just kept doing podcasts from the beginning, you would have reached those 5. They would have shared it. They would have engaged. They would have liked it because that's what they want to see. And then you would have reached more people, and you probably would have made 10 subscribers the next month because you were getting people to engage and people to be a part of your community. And then the third month, you would have had maybe 30 people, and you wouldn't have lost anyone because you continually put out the content. And you know what's great about putting out content consistently is that each time you put out content, if you're putting an effort into it, you will get better. So the people that followed you from the get-go, they're going to stay with you because the content's going to, if they like the content when it was bad, imagine how much they're going to like the content when it's good. They're going to like it even more. So that thing of getting better, you can't get good at something if you just keep on changing from one thing to another. You have to stick with something and give it a chance before you actually start seeing the results of it. And I think, that was a lesson that took me a while to learn.
Wow.
I see Sibu said, this chat reminds me of Ambitious Entertainment and Mabala Noise chat. But before we get into that, I was just another one here with, sorry, say it again, bro.
I was saying I was actually talking about that when Rain decided to cut me off.
Hold that thought. Before we get into that, there's another comment here with Noble. Without creators and consumers, labels can't run. So what the fans support is what the artist's gonna make. The real boss here is the audience. If artists learn to serve people more stronger than labels or gatekeepers, they can work on their terms instead of theirs. Ooh, that's a hot take. That's a hot take. Wow. All right, before we get into the Mabala chat, I feel like we need to unpack that because Noble said a lot here. And it's true. Like the people that are actually generating the revenue here are the audience, right? The reason why the labels make money, or the reason why Spotify makes money, is because people are paying a subscription every month. Because people are putting their attention on the platform and they can put ads. And then when they go to brands, they say, we put your ad here, you're going to reach 100,000 people. And because you're going to reach 100,000 people, you need to pay me $100,000 or whatever it is. So the real power lies in the hands of the people consuming the content. But now that's where the whole chat of being aware of how the system works comes into play. Because most people that are consuming content don't realize how the system works, number one, and don't realize the power and control that they have on the system. Because if everyone tomorrow decides to leave Spotify and go to Apple Music, that's going to shift how the music industry is going to operate. It also becomes a question of like, do people care? And that's another thing. to also explore, because a lot of people might not care how the artist is getting paid. So they're going to stick with any platform, even if the platform's exploiting the artist. Why would I move if I don't care? So I think there's also a chat there about what do we care about as consumers? Are we conscious as consumers? But yeah, I don't know if this ties into what you're going to say about Mabala and ambitious entertainment.
Yes, it actually ties perfectly with that but it's mostly with the artists. So what I was saying is, you saw how when ambitious entertainment came into, when it became like the well-known record label, where we had like Aries, Fifi Cooper, all those artists, Java, like everybody was there. Oh, I want to be signed by ambitious entertainment, because look at what they're doing for these artists. They're actually giving them more exposure, they're getting them out there, when we had no idea that they're actually exploiting their artists, right? And then fast forward to the artists now coming out and saying, no, these people are actually like paying us 20,000 every month, you know, and showing all the paperwork to say this is not the money that they actually were supposed to get. They thought they were gonna get more, but now they're actually getting 20,000. Even when that controversy was, came to light, there are some artists that didn't care. They said, no, I just want the exposure. It's fine. They can exploit me however they want. But now it came to a point where they were like, Aish, now these people, it is about the money, yeah. And also, what I've noticed and what I've heard about artists that were signed to Ambitious is that they will tell the artist that, no, okay, we can hear your music. You're trying to make this type of music, but we actually want you to reach a lot of people. So you need to change a bit. Same as what they did with Pretty Ugly. Pretty Ugly did mention that they said to him, they want him to appeal to young kids, but at the same time they want him to appeal to older people. Hence his music changed, and people started judging him off of that music that he was creating under Ambitious. But let me get that out of the way. Despite everything that happened with the previous artists, there were those that didn't care how much money that they were going to get. They were just thinking about the exposure. So yeah, some people don't really care because they saw
Hey,
what happened, but they still wanted to be in that space just for the exposure.
yeah, and that comes to that
And
question of
yeah,
what do you
there were a couple of people that were actually saying that as well, who were not artists, that were saying, no, just go in for the exposure, and then once you're done, once the contract ends, and then you'll do your thing on the side. Just make sure that you invest your money, and then you can fund your career from there forth. They didn't care that artists were being exploited and not given the money that they actually deserve to get, or that they were supposed to get. So some of the people that consume music don't really care. They say, but at least we know who you are. That's how some people feel about
I
such
think to
situations.
play to play devil's advocate on that, people, at least people know who you are. Like there's power in a brand, right? If people know you and you have
Mm,
attention, there's power in that. You can monetize that, but you have to be smart about how you're going to monetize that, because that doesn't go to Pick and Pay, go and try and buy bread and pay with exposure. No one's gonna take your exposure at Pick and Pay. So at the end of the day, exposure doesn't pay the bills. Money does. And I think
mm,
it's important that we view money as a tool, because, and it's important that we have a purpose and a why, because it comes back to that thing of what do you want? What do you want? Do you want
mm,
exposure? Because a lot of those people, if you go and ask them what do you want, I don't think exposure is actually what they really wanted. I think they wanted something more
mm,
than exposure, but they put exposure in that place. If you aren't self aware enough to understand what it is that you want from a situation, You can't expect to not get what you want or to get you. The only thing you can expect from that situation is getting screwed over, because if you run into someone else who does know what they want and they're self-aware, they're going to navigate the situation to get where they want to go, and you're the one who's going to get walked. Understand, what do you actually want? Because once you understand what you want, if you're able to find people who want a similar thing, you can work with them, you can walk with them to go where you want to go. If you don't know what you want and you're working with other people who do know what they want, and let me tell you something, you want to work with people who know what they want, because people who know what they want go somewhere. They have a destination where they are walking to. If you're surrounding yourself with people, don't be surprised when you look back 10 years later and you're still in the exact same spot as where you were when you started, because you can't expect to go anywhere unless you have a direction. So once you know what you want, is your direction. Now, if you're going to be around people who have direction and you don't, they're going to walk over you to get where they're going to go, and you're going to be stuck in the same place when they're gone. So the first place to start really is to decide, what is it that you actually want? And be careful saying money, because money is not a destination. Money is a tool to get to a destination. So what a lot of people do is they say, nah, I want money. And then they get money. And then they become drug addicts. They lose the money. They don't know what to do with the money when they get it. Why don't they know what to do with the money? Why do they start taking drugs? Because they don't know what to do with the money. They're trying to fill a gap with that money, and the money doesn't fill the gap. Why? Because money doesn't fill gaps. It's not a destination. It's a tool to get. It's a tool to create something to fill that gap. That's what it is. You can't fill a gap with a tool. So that why, like, and shifting your idea, because when people say, oh no, the reason why I do this because I want money, the only problem is that once, let's say you succeed, you land up getting infinite amounts of money, then what? Now you've lost, now you don't have any purpose because you got where you're going to go. So what exactly is it that you want? And I think the thing, for me, the thing that I want, or the thing that I think we should strive for as people when it comes to deciding what we want, is we should choose something that is impossible to get, or that seems impossible to get. Because the more difficult, the more impossible it seems, the more purpose you're going to have to get there, because it's gonna be very difficult to get there. So, like, for example, if we look at what we're doing within JD Creations, right? Say, oh no, like our end goal is to be a 10 million rand business. The problem is that we get there, and I'm telling you now, once you get there and you reach the 10 million, that 10 million rand is not going to feel like 10 million rand. It's not going to feel like a lot. Because as you've progressed, now we don't have a car. Once you get there, now you're driving a BMW. You're going to start looking at the Lamborghini. You're going to see, oh no, I need, this needs to be a 50 million rand business because I want the Lamborghini. And then you're going to get the Lamborghini, and then you're going to be like, nah, this needs to be a $100 million business or 100 million rand business because I want the Bentley. And then you're going to keep going until you have the best car. And then what? And then what? And then at the end of the day, like, we all are mortal. We're all going to leave this planet. You leave the planet, and then what? So I think that thing of like chasing money is such a dead end as a destination, because you get to that point, and there'll always be someone richer unless you're the richest man in the world. But then it's like, being the richest man in the world is a lonely place to be. Let me just say that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, some people would look at billionaires and say, oh, this person is living their best life. What if that person is actually going through depression? Maybe there's that one thing that actually bothers them. They have the money, they can afford whatever they want to buy, but mentally, are they fine? You would find that some people are not okay still. Hence, you would see some people saying, like, there's some people that say, money is what makes me happy. Like, if I had money, then I would be happy. You can have money, but if you're not mentally okay, then money won't do anything for you. You can buy whatever, you can go through, go to Dubai or go on vacation, but still that feeling will be stuck with you. Hey, no.
Yeah,
Now
no,
I'm being a psychologist.
no, it's true. It's so true because we put so much pressure on ourselves as young people to try and get the bag. And we see other people doing
Mm,
all these things also thinking that they're happy because they're posting a picture on Instagram smiling. Is
yeah,
that happiness? Is happiness now
it's not.
because you can very easily fake a smile and put that on Instagram. Sibu says,
Exactly.
the hardest lesson I learned as a creative is that what I do needs to make me money, but it's a lot easier said than done. Dude, that is
Mm,
the hardest lesson. Oh, I don't want to say the hardest, but also one of the hardest lessons I learned as well. And it's so ironic because creating the things that you want to create are often the things that money is not involved in. So, like, when I
mm,
look back at those fashion films, those were the most fulfilling pieces of content to create because of the purpose of it. The purpose was literally just to create content. So the purpose was literally just to create content. The purpose was also to learn. And the third one I would say is to have fun with friends. That was the purpose behind that content. And that had nothing to do with money at all. If I go back and I look at
mm,
those clips from way back when, those are some of the most fulfilling pieces of content that I've ever created because of the purpose behind it. Now, when you bring money into the equation, it's not going to be a situation where you're creating for any other purpose but besides well, maybe not. You could be creating to learn, you could be creating to enjoy. But at the end of the day, that piece of work that you're creating, if someone else is paying for it, it's not your work. If
it's
someone else is
theirs.
paying for it, it's their work. Because the fact that they are the one who can pull the plug on it, they have a sense of power and control over the situation. Unless you're lucky enough to work with someone who's willing to give you full creative control. But the amount of time and effort that it would take to build up the trust for someone to just give you money and say, do whatever you want with this, that's a very rare thing to happen. Like Pearl was saying earlier,
Mm,
there's no such thing in life as a free lunch. You are paying in some other way. Whether you're paying with your time, whether you're paying with your knowledge, whether you're paying with money, in some or other way, you're gonna pay.
mm. Nothing's for mahala in life.
Nothing is free.
You have to pay something. Nothing is free. If they
But
say, like, with let me make a silly example. Many people, when Timu came in, like Timu would give people like free items and say, we're giving you free items. You don't get those free items right away. What you do is you have to get other people to join the app. If you don't get enough people to join, then you're not gonna get anything. But if you're able to get those people now, you're gonna get those. But at the same time, you will have to pay the custom duty. So you see, it's not free.
but
You
even
invested your time in
though,
inviting those people.
sorry, bro, it broke up for a second. You're saying?
I was saying, um, you paid using your time. You took time. You could have done something better, but you decided to go onto WhatsApp and any other social media platform and say, "Hey guys, use my code." That is time. You could have done something else. And then at the same time, it's money. You're going to pay custom. They're not going to pay it for you. So it's not necessarily free. Yeah, I
Even
was
if
just
you
making
didn't
an example, but
pay for the customs, even if you didn't pay for the customs, you still paid with your time. You paid with your energy.
exactly.
And that's another thing we also
Mm,
don't realize is that your time and energy is also valuable. Your time and energy has value.
exactly.
If Timo's willing to send you stuff for free because you're willing to bring people on their platform and spending your time and energy, your time has value. Your time and energy has value. And a lot of people don't realize that they have that. Even though you might be unemployed, you still have time and you still have energy. So how do you convert that into money? And you can find ways to convert that into money. Go invite people onto Timu, get them to send you stuff, and then go sell the stuff. You've converted it to money. Like, so another comment that we have here from Sabu is, I learned from a photographer named Tim Fair Matthews that the hard part of monetizing content is that whatever you make must give value to your audience, and that's often where we struggle. And this is what I also like,
Mm,
that we spoke this podcast that's dropping tomorrow as well. One of the topics that we spoke about was empathy and being empathetic. And being empathetic means caring about someone else, caring about what matters to them, and putting yourself into their shoes. You can't expect money from a situation unless you're willing to be empathetic on some other level. And the reason why is because people will pay you if they feel understood. People will pay you if you are meeting a need that they have. And you'll never be able to understand what someone needs without being able to stand in their shoes. If I'm able to, let's say I want to sell, let's say I want to sell fiber, I want to sell internet, but I want to sell it in rural areas. If I don't understand what the needs are of people living in rural areas, if I don't go to the rural area and live there for a while, make friends with the people, understand what it is that are the problems that they face, I'm going to find it very difficult to provide a product to them that offers value, because I'm not going to understand. I'm not going to be able to put my feet in their shoes. So you need to be able, if you're going to sell something to someone, if you're going to do something for someone, you have to understand what matters to them. And once you understand what matters to them, that's when you can offer something of value. Going back to that earlier example, do they want apples or do they want oranges? Because if you're going to keep on trying to sell apples to people who want oranges, don't expect to make any money. And do you even know what the person wants? Let's start there,
mm,
because maybe you don't even know what the person wants. So that level of
you're trying
understanding and
your
like
luck.
thinking is so important for creatives when it comes to making money. Is like understanding what it is that people are struggling with. Because if you can identify what they're struggling with, you can then understand what it is that they need to solve their problem. And then you can provide that thing that they need. And if you're able to do that, they'll be willing to pay you, especially if they're making money off of the problem that you're solving for them. If they're making money off that problem that you're solving for them, then and they're making more money, they'll be willing to pay you more, because they know that if you stop providing that to them, it's going to stop them from making that money. So they'll be willing to pay
Mm.
more, unless it's a situation like Maphorisa, where that he's just I mean, from what it seems like, he's literally just taking advantage of the fact that people don't understand how the industry works. And if that is the case, all it takes is for the person who doesn't understand how the industry works to learn how it works, for them to see value in what they're doing and learn that what they're doing can stand on its own feet without him. I'm not gonna lie, like if I was one of those producers, I would probably just be there to build my brand. Build your brand to the point where people know you. And then when people know you enough for you to release music on your own, then just step away from the situation and learn how the music business works and make your own tracks, because then at that point people know you.
And now he's calling the Amapiano artists that he has worked with his kids. He's saying that they're my kids. Imagine,
Yeah,
my
I don't
kids.
know.
Like
That's sounding very like,
he's trying to make it all about him. He's
yeah.
trying to make it a thing of it. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be in this position. Like he's putting it in their faces that like
We
if
lost
it
bro.
wasn't for me.
Oh, okay. Now you're back.
Oh, I was saying he's putting it in everybody's faces, including the artists, that if it wasn't for him, then they wouldn't be where they are right now.
I mean,
Hence, I think that's where the gatekeeping allegations started. Because now people were looking at how he talks about the artists that he has worked with, and especially with Kabza. Because people are asking themselves, why is like he wants to be everywhere Kabza is, or he wanted rather. So people are asking themselves, like, can't Kabza do stuff by himself? Why does Maphorisa have to be everywhere? So from there, people are starting to ask themselves questions like, what is this guy up to? And then that's when now he started working with Amapiano artists, putting them in his space or, doing collaborations with them. And now he's like, they're my kids.
I think that situation with Kabza was
Kids.
probably where he learned the methodology of, collaboration. When you work with people that
Mm,
have a brand, when you work with people that are successful and you're part of those same environments, that's going to help boost your brand. And you can offer that to other people as
mm.
well. But let's look at Kabza, because Kabza didn't turn around and say, no, Maphorisa is my kid, from what I've seen. And look at how
No?
long Kabza has been around.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I think that, that thing of collaboration, it needs to be viewed as teamwork. But if someone's going to be in the front and make it all about
Mm,
themselves, then all it takes is for them to stumble. All it takes is one thing to go wrong. And then if you're the one who's making all about yourself, when you fall, everyone's going to be watching you because you
mm,
made it all about you.
exactly.
So I think that's probably something that Maphorisa is fearful about, which is probably why he's doubling down on this thing, because he's worried that something like that might happen. And this comes back to that topic of, are you making choices based off of fear or faith?
Mm,
Because when you make choices based off of fear, the chances that it's going to become reality is more likely because you're focused on the bad thing happening. So when your focus is on the bad thing
yeah.
happening, then it's more likely to happen. But anyways, we're speculating here. We don't know what's going on in Maphorisa's head. We also don't know what's happening behind the scenes. We're
Yeah.
also just kind of talking about these things based off what we can see in the forefront, which could be different to what's happening behind the scenes. So
Yeah.
anyways,
So
Pearl, should we wrap it up
there's a
there?
lot. Yeah. I think let's just wrap it up there. So we touched on collaboration, we touched on gatekeeping, we've been psychologists, you know. But
Come
yeah,
to the
this
C.Chat.
was a great
We'll
conversation.
psychologicalize you. You're trying to get
It's like
psychologicalized.
we are uncertified, unqualified.
Yeah, no. But anyways, shout out to Cebu. Thanks for engaging and sticking with us. And then I think Noble's still with us here as well. Shout out Noble for
Shout out to
coming through.
Noble. Shout out, shout out.
We're growing. We're on road to 1,000. We've got an announcement coming soon. yo, we've got an exciting announcement coming
Yes.
next week. So stick out. Yeah, keep an eye out for that. It's going to be announced first in the WhatsApp group. And then, yeah, and then we'll probably share it to the public afterwards. But join the WhatsApp group because we're going to drop it there first. But yeah, anything else on your side before you wrap up?
From my side, know what you want in life
Mm.
and make decisions of that.
Mm.
Know your why, know the purpose behind what you're doing or what you want to do. Because if you don't have purpose, then you're just wasting your time and energy. Because whatever you do without purpose and your why is going to be meaningful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
money is just a
that's so
tool to make that happen.
exactly. We do
Think
need
of
it.
life.
But
Yeah.
your purpose has to be bigger than money, which is what Kopano said in tomorrow's episode.
You need it, but it doesn't need you.
You
Think
see?
about that. Think about that.
Think about that.
Think about that. You need money, but money don't need you.
Wow.
And on that note, we'll see you next time.
Thank you for coming. All right. It didn't stop. We're still live.